Today's event is more about audit services. But let's see, before you hear anybody on any subject matter, you want to know, why should I hear from you? Who are you? Right? See, there is no way for us to judge the competency of other expertise. There is no way for us to know if the doctor is a good surgeon or not. I mean, the only way we can figure it out, what's your education? What experience do you have? How many cases you have worked on? And based on that, we are deciding if that person is a good professional person or not. Otherwise, there is no way for us, for a general person, there is no way for them to know if I'm a good accountant or not. But what we know, that I have 25 years plus experience in this field. I'm not just your CPA, CPA meaning an accountant who takes a number from you and enter it in the system and we are done. I have IIT degree in computer, that's why we attract a lot of IT clients. And getting a degree from IIT, if you know IIT, is no easy job. I mean, it's Harvard of India. I did MBA from NYU, New York University, then CPA, then Series 7 and Series 66 wealth planning licenses. So then you see right from beginning to the end, it's a well-rounded education, the experience, and then all sorts of clients. In last 25 years, I mean, as you can see, probably you did not notice it yet, I'm brown. So I have a little bit of accent. You wouldn't notice it, but I mean, that's all there. I mean, I have grown into proper American person now. So, so I attract a lot of IT clients because we understand the industry. I have 4 years degree in computer. I mean, I could be running an IT company, but this is what the forte was. This is how it was meant to be. So we attract a lot of ethnic clients. So if you have a situation where FBAR, FATCA, FinCEN, 3520, all that Indian exposure needs to be taken care of. Who is better than an Indian accountant who has expertise, exposure in that field? If you ask me, I have a Brazilian situation, can you handle it? We handle all sorts of situations. Not Brazilian, with Dubai, Singapore is very common. But the number of cases I have done for India is unparalleled. Almost everybody has some sort of accounts, foreign accounts in India.
I'm one of them.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So we represent all sorts of industries. Technology, restaurant, distribution centers, warehouses, trucking companies, a lot of trucking companies, wholesaler, doctor professional offices, pharmacies, and probably 60 some non-for-profit companies. Not that I'm any good or any better moral character person just because I do free advice for them. So everybody has me as trustee on their non-for-profit company. So we do a lot of non-for-profit companies right from inception, businesses startup, to getting the 501c3, 501c4, 501c6, whatever non-for-profit status you are looking for, including the sales tax exemption and of course the tax filing. So this is what we do. In nutshell, business startup to bookkeeping, payroll, sales tax, annual tax, IRS problems, CFO services, all under one roof. So while working, a lot of times what happens when you have somebody else doing the payroll, somebody else doing the CFO service, somebody else doing the taxes, somebody else doing the accounting, it creates a situation, it's not my fault. Or check with that person. In this case, when you have business startup to the end, you have one email address, one phone number, and that is my cell number. And I kid about it, I joke about it, that we have 53 accountants, 12 CPAs, 3 locations. And our claim to fame is we are large enough to take care of all your business needs and yet small enough to pick up your phone. I mean, if you go to a bigger firm, then you have the 1-800 number type of situation that you get in the line and nobody is there to pick up the phone. And every single time, AJ, how do you spell AJ? AJ. That's how you spell it. But in this case, when you have cell number for the owner of the company, where you can text, WhatsApp, and call the person directly, you get a lot of personal attention. Our team of experts, please. Nina is our tax manager. She is the floor manager. She does a lot of taxes. A lot of people does taxes in the world.
Yes, so when it comes to our team of experts, like Mr. Kumar already said that we have 50 plus accountants here and 12 plus CPAs, and everyone is like very well educated, very well qualified. Some are CPA, some are accounting degrees, some have MBAs, some are expert in some like finance degrees, all those things. So we have like very good experienced team here, and our specialization, like we have payroll team, we have bookkeeping teams, we have tax experts. So everyone is like very much committed to their work, and we always keep us up to date with the latest regulations or any changes in the IRS or state laws and rules. So and everyone is very committed to their work. So here I would just say something about proactive financial management. Like Mr. Kumar said, we have one single email, and we keep on sending reminders to everyone. You might be getting so many of them for sales tax or bank statements. We just try to keep us updated, like monthly, for the monthly statement, for bookkeeping, everything. We just want to do it every month, so that every quarter Mr. Kumar can discuss how the business is growing and what all changes you can do in regards to the business. So yeah, that's
So I'll add on proactive financial management. A lot of accountants will do the books at the end of the year. They get the bank statement, try to put the books together, and they tell the client, this is what you owe. Here, this is not right. If you just tell the client at the end of the year, this is your liability, you're not doing a good job. We try doing the books every month, every quarter. So by the third quarter, we already know what the profit is going to be. We already know what the tax liability is going to be. So we can take actions, spend some more money, not deposit the checks. I mean, a lot of you in the room, I don't have to tell you how we did your taxes, because we have done it for all of you. So this gives you some proactive management. When it comes to the communication, we'll ask you the information, you get the email first, then second you get the email, third you get the tax, fourth you get the code. What's wrong with you? And that's how the communication works. We don't just sit, we send the email and our job is done. That's not how it is. Our job is not done until the work is done.
So today's topic is regarding audit services. So let's start with what is audit. Audit is basically when you're checking somebody else's work. So you have the financial statements with you, and the auditor will look for information, look for gaps, and will figure out like whether the information looks complete, accurate, fair, and whether it's in compliance with all the rules and regulations. Why do we need audit services for that? You need. There are various reasons to it. Not every audit can guarantee you everything, but a typical audit should focus on these following points, which is like whether the reports are financially accurate or not, whether they complied with various laws and regulations, the detection of any fraud and prevention in timely manner is what the audits are looking for, whether the firm is operating effectively and efficiently, and for stakeholders, obviously they need the information to be there in simple and transparent form, and whether it provides with all this rules, with all the financial metrics and all. So when it comes to audits, usually most of us have heard about IRS and state audits, so people kind of get really scared. But this is just one kind of an audit. There are various other audits like financial audit, internal and external audit, information systems audit, statutory audit, and compliance audit. So now Mr. Kumar will brief you about various
And this
audits.
is me if you don't recognize it.
That is Mr. Kumar Hansen.
I got some weight. Otherwise, I used to be fine. So we'll talk. So as Gurleen rightly said, we hear audit and we get scared of audit. If audit comes in the mind, the government audit. But there are a lot of audits. There are good audits. The audits that you want to implement in your company. So the word audit is not good or bad itself. IRS audit is bad, of course. State audit, Department of Labor audit could be bad, meaning depending on what your situation is. So in a typical IRS audit, IRS is sending a notice. They're trying to have, it's supposed to be information finding. And why would they do it? Let's say if everybody in the world is doing what they're supposed to be doing, still IRS would want to audit only to make sure that they're creating some deterrents, meaning it's more like in your office, do you put the cameras around? You know everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing. You don't mind it. You don't really check the tapes, but you still have cameras around. So by doing certain audits, and IRS does the information audit. What triggers the IRS audit? It could be not reporting all your income, everything that you have, W2, 1099, everything that's reported to IRS. If you miss a document, that will create an automatic audit, automatic error. In some cases, your assets do not match the income you're reporting. As the example we were discussing earlier, one of my clients, a grocery store guy, doesn't show the profit and ends up buying a Bentley. So cash down. So it creates a situation where anything that you spend 10,000 or more creates a CTR, a cash transaction report is filed automatically. You don't know it. And they see that you have this large purchase, large transaction, and based on your income, you haven't made $250,000 in the last 5 years. So where is the money coming from? So that type of situation. And sometimes the revenue collection audits are also there. They try to focus if the bank deposits that you have are far more than the income you're reporting. And when does it happen? Let's say if you have multiple bank accounts, or you are transferring money from your personal account to business account, or vice versa, or you took some private loans, not the government loans, not the bank loans. Bank loans are all recorded. But if you have friends and family loans coming into the business account, it can create a situation when the bank deposits are exceeding far more than the revenue that you are reporting on your tax return. That can create a situation for the audit. But typically the government audit, IRS and the state audits are fact finder, nothing to worry about. We do it all the time. It will have a notice number, it will have a phone number. Call that number, understand the notice first, and then you can respond accordingly. The one thing that you do not want to do for any audit is to ignore it. If you ignore the notice, automatically it becomes illegal. The financial audit is most common audit. When we hear the corporation, not every company needs the audit. You have to have certain size of the company. You have to have a situation where you're trying to get a loan from the bank. The bank wants the audited financial statement. You're trying to sell shares of the company. The new investor is looking for audited financial statement. There has to be a situation, there has to be something, or the company has just grown to 10 million plus, or you're looking for asset-based lending, where you have to have the AR or the inventory at a particular number. So there has to be rational, there has to be a reason. Audit process is not cheap. Audit is an expensive process where we don't trust what you're saying. The auditor is not supposed to take the words of the management. Auditor is supposed to independently check what the management is saying, where the money is coming from, who gave the money. And we are supposed to have this attestation with a third party. Check with them if they really agree. If you're showing Dar owes me $500, send a letter to Dar, ask Dar, sign this thing that you really owe the company $500. This is the audit. So we, in compilation or review, we can trust management word, but in the typical audit, we will not trust management word. Financial statement audit, there are three types of financial statement: profit and loss statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. These audits are typical for the bank loans, and a lot of times, and I have seen it in the past, a lot of times people will edit the PDF copies of the bank statement or PDF copies of the financial statement to submit to the bank and then try to get the large loans. When the fraud happens, slowly, banks get smarter. Now the bank doesn't want to take the financials from the company. The banks wants a third party. And why do they want the CPA to be signing? The CPA is putting their license number. Now the bank knows who do we sue if you're lying on your financial. That's why no CPA will just sign any document. They have to do their due diligence. They have to check the bank statement. The license is not worth losing for any client for that matter, right? The internal audits are not as common, but are very important. Internal audits mean the company is doing the audit for their own processes by itself. A growing company must consider internal audit. A lot of companies already do internal audits, we do internal audits for the processes, but we don't hire the external party to do it. The next step is, because we are too involved in doing things the way we have been doing. If you bring in a third party, this is how we are doing things. Can you find some inconsistencies in it? Is there any duplication of work that we are doing? Say, for example, we were having a client folder for every single client. We called in an expert. He said, why do you have client folder? It used to take us more time to find the folder than actually to do the work. Because there are 1,200 folders. Each client has multiple companies, multiple folders. So if you don't find the folder, you're relying on a document that you have filed in a particular folder. What if the document went to the wrong folder? So we spent over $100,000 this summer on the digitization project. Every single client, every single paper has to be scanned, saved. Most of the cost comes from the labor cost in the digitization. The software is not that expensive. Now, we are hoping in the next season or in the coming years, we don't have to look for the folder. A lot of these things can be done without looking for the folder. So whenever you're thinking about change in the operations, and you have to also know if one of the employee in the company does something wrong, does the employee get sued or does the company get sued? The company gets sued. So it's your responsibility as the company owner, as a shareholder, to make sure everybody is doing what they are supposed to be doing. At least you have some process in place. Compliance is there. Compliance audit or the process flow audits are very important in any company. There has to be some policies. Who prepared the policy? Who signed it off? Are everybody following this policy? When did you inform everybody last time? So all those audits, all those processes are referred as internal audits. A lot of time you can do it internally yourself, and if you feel that it's not working, you can hire somebody else from outside to do these audits. Information system audits were not there earlier. It's a recent thing. In last 15-20 years, information audit has become more popular than what it used to be. It's mainly for the IT companies. After Y2K in last 20 years, a lot of IT companies came up. IT companies are growing. IT companies have their own sector, own mutual fund, own shares. So that has created a situation when IT company has their own audit processes that mainly relies on the data security, how the data is saved, who you can share with the data, what policies you are using, how much encryption you are using. So those audit processes were not there earlier in a typical corporation. With most of the data, there was one computer, few computers, everything was on paper. So information system audits are fairly recent audit and are typically used for the IT companies only, information technology companies only. The statutory audits are government audits. A lot of school system, every municipality in this country has to be audited, has to submit their audit report before they can have the funds released for the next year. And a typical municipality will have large funds, millions of dollars. I mean, a small Jamesburg, I live in a small community over there, their municipality budget is $160 million. And they can't get the next year's budget released, and it's public information. You can see it on the website for each township, and they don't get the budget released until they have the audit. So there are statutory audits that are required by the law. A lot of companies, the non-for-profit companies that receives funding from the government, more than $100,000 will have to be audited. Otherwise, they cannot request more funding. A lot of these audits are statutory audit, government audits that are mandatory in certain situations. Compliance audit is mainly, are you compliant with certain processes? Every type of business has certain compliance requirement. As a CPA, we have to protect the data in certain way. We have to protect the emails in certain way. We have to have certain encryption policies in place. Every business has its own requirement, own compliance requirement. There has to be an internal policy that's been communicated to all the employees, to everybody in the company. This is what you're supposed to do. This is when you're supposed to do. And there has to be check in place to see if everybody is following that policy or not. Mainly to protect the stakeholder, protect the information. And it's the ethical responsibility for the business.
So, like we said before, there are various assurances that should be should audits be providing to the number one being the compliance with various accounting standards and regulations. The another one would be looking for the right information. You should get the right financial information. It should be fair, accurate, complete. To see whether the internal controls are working right. That's part of internal audit. And also your risk management, like whether you have, whether you know what risk the firm faces and whether we have the right kind of processes in place to take care of those risks. Then the early detection of various frauds and errors, obviously. The audit should also be able to provide you with the following, which is thorough knowledge of regulations. It should be and detection of fraud and errors, the same, all those points. Like.
So none of the audit does everything. When we sign up for an audit, we ask, what's the objective here? What's the focus here? And the audit is supposed to give a reasonable assurance for that focus. That's why there are multiple different type of audits, because the situation could demand a particular result out of it. Can you make sure there's no fraud here? Can you make sure my process is compliant with what the government wants? Can you make sure my process workflow is right? So each audit has a goal to it, has a set objective to it, and that's when we provide a reasonable assurance by checking with a third party, not trusting the management word. Again, management words are okay when we do the compilation and review, but for audit we have to rely on the third party attestation. So why choose us? So trust and reputation. You can trust somebody who has been doing it for 25 years, have the right education, and have some sort of reputation in the market. It's a small world, especially the brown world is smaller. Word goes around, right?
The second one is collateral evaluation, whether the company has the right collateral to have more of a borrowing part. In terms of when you talk about collateral, it's mainly inventory and receivables. What is the valuation of that?
Yeah, and the industry expertise, like I already told you, like you have to have some expert looking into your accounting, looking your payroll, looking at, like, you know, any industry, any particular field, you have to have some expertise. So that's why, like we, as Mr. Kumar already told, like we have a good team all over for all these expertise. So that's right.
And if we don't have the expertise, we have access to the expertise. We can find the right expertise for you. With 53 accountants, 12 CPAs, if your CPA is not growing as fast as you will outgrow the CPA. Then the CPA is struggling and they can't provide you the information on time. Timely and efficient results are very, very important.
And the customers approaches, obviously we have a team of like 53 accountants, so everybody is working into their own area of expertise. So you have a customized approach from Sai CPA Services. Yes.
Thank you. It did not come out right. We wanted 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But thank you. Thank you for listening. And if there's any question, we'll be happy to answer. And any comments, we'll be happy to take it. Thank you. Thank you.